Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Questions with Connie. And today I want to talk to you guys on Movie Talk Monday about the movie Maxine. So I went and saw this one today earlier, and I wanted to get a video out to let you guys know exactly what I thought and why maybe you should go see this movie. So let's talk about it. So for this one, I did give this movie a 8 out of 10. So it wasn't really so much, I would say, your typical horror movie or, scary. It was more for a lot of different other factors that this movie is really good. And so I'll get into those in just a minute, but I want to get into the meat and potatoes of exactly how I judge a movie. So that way you guys kind of see how this ranked on my little test that I do. So the first one that I do is the trailer test. So I like to judge a movie by looking at the trailer versus what I got when I actually saw the movie, whether or not I feel like the movie delivered on what the trailer was selling me. So for this one, I do feel like it absolutely delivers based on the trailer, because even though there are some moments that they give away in the trailer because they have to, right? They have to draw you into the theater. It's just so good on so many levels, and I'll explain exactly why. But it definitely passes the trailer test. You won't be disappointed if you watch the trailer and then you go see it in theaters. One of the other tests that I do is the husband sleep test. So my husband is pretty particular on what movies will keep him awake and which ones won't. Basically, if a movie is not engaging enough or, just doesn't keep his attention enough, he's gonna fall asleep. So I like to call this the husband sleep test because that is a factor for me on movies. If he falls asleep, then I know 9 times out of 10 it's not that great a movie. But this movie definitely passed the husband sleep test. He did not fall asleep. He was engaged the whole movie. Another thing I like to gauge on a movie is whether or not it passed the scary versus story balance. And what I mean by that is, did it have way too much of one or the other where it felt imbalanced? And so for this one, I would say because it's not really scary, it definitely felt to me like it had more story than scary, which with this particular movie doesn't really take away from it, but it definitely isn't your general scary or horror movie. If that's what you're expecting, then this might let you down. But if you're not and you go into it looking for just a quality film, then definitely go watch this movie. So I would categorize it as kind of a gory thriller rather than a horror or scary movie, because at no point was I scared, at no point did I jump. That never happens in this movie. So if you're okay with that and that doesn't bother you, then you'll be okay with this movie. You'll have no problem with it. However, if you're looking for a scare or jumps or anything like that, you're not going to find it in this movie. So if that's something that you look for when you look at these movies, don't look for it with this one because it's not there. However, what it lacks on jump scares, it absolutely delivers on the way that they do the special effects and the gore. I can't say enough how amazing that part is on this movie. So props and major kudos to whoever the special effects team is, and I'll put their information here. But they did such an amazing job in this movie, because rarely, nowadays, is there a movie that has made me go, how did they do that? This movie was one of those, because everything is just so over the top, and the death scenes and the kills in this movie, by far some of the best special effects I have ever seen in any movie. So if that is something that you like in a movie or in your horror or whatever you go to see, then you'll definitely not be disappointed if you're looking for gore, or if gore is your draw for a movie, because this delivers in spades when it comes to that. On that same note, whoever did the costuming, just great job. Mia Goth, all of her outfits, first of all, she's a gorgeous girl, period. This movie, just every outfit that she is in is absolutely epic. So all of them I can see someone doing for Halloween, 1000%, because they're all really nice outfits. Even for someone who, like me, who I really wouldn't normally wear any of those things, I just thought they were beautiful. And if I could pull them off, I 1000% would, because she just looks so great in all of their outfits. They 1000% nail all the thematics in this movie. So when it comes down to costuming, the set design, the different products that they have in it from that era, all of it is impressive to me because, ever since starting YouTube, I have noticed production quality so much more, because I know what effort it takes just to put together these small videos, that now looking at huge productions and exactly what they do, like, I can't imagine the level of work that goes into some of these things. So now when I'm watching these films, it just takes a whole nother level for me when I see all the tiny attention to detail that they put into it from start to finish. You know, you can just see how much effort went into every little detail, and I am impressed by that. So this is one thing that I did mention in one of my previous videos about, I want to say it was the Late Night with the Devil movie. Although I didn't really like that movie as much as I know a lot of people did, one thing I do 1000% appreciate about it is the set design, the costuming, and the commitment to having all of those things be, you know, time period correct. That is so hard, I imagine, to do, that I'm really impressed with all the effort that they put into that type of stuff. So bravo to them for this one, because they definitely nailed it for sure. For example, there's even this tiny little aspect that I'm sure, you know, a lot of people will notice, and it'll bring back that nostalgia, but I was born in the very late 80s, so I remember all of the old McDonald's wrappers and, you know, their cup designs and all of that stuff. So when I see anything that brings me back to those time periods, I notice them. So for me, there is a McDonald's cup and a little container, you know, those old, and I'll put a picture of it here at some point, but there is a McDonald's cup and burger container in the background of one of the scenes with Mia Goth in them, and I just thought, look at that, I remember those wrappers. And it's just little things like that that I think make movies stand apart, because you understand just how much effort went into making those scenes accurate. So Mia Goth is the main actress in this movie, and I can't say enough about what an amazing actress that she is. Everything I've seen her in thus far, she's so good at scary. So what I mean by that is, when an actor can immerse you so deeply in their character and portray it so well that you actually are a little scared of the person that they are in real life, because they do that part so extremely well. I mean, that's some hard work and dedication for sure, especially if that isn't true to your character at all. I mean, you're gonna have a hard time convincing me that you don't have a dark side when you can play a dark character that well. I don't know. It's just how I feel about it. I'm gonna look at you sideways if I see you somewhere and I'm alone. That's just how I feel about it. But anyway, I appreciate that she just does a stellar job in this movie. So she just does a great job of portraying this person who has all of these things going on emotionally, meanwhile also just being a badass throughout the entire movie. And I appreciate that so much. I think that there really aren't enough badass female characters, and I know there are some, but you can never give me enough, honestly. So another movie that I like that has a badass female character that I've seen more recently are the Becky movies. So I think one of them is just called Becky, and then the other one's called Wrath of Becky. So I love those for that reason, especially because all too often we see that either a female character is portrayed as weak or scared or doing all of the wrong things and just not defending herself very well. Or we'll see that if she is a scary person in a movie, she's often either a psycho mother or just a scary, you know, mentally just all over the place person. And there's just always these added things that don't make the character likable. So for me, that's what kind of sets Maxine apart, is that although she technically is a bad guy, she's someone that you root for the whole movie. And there is this one scene in particular, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but when you see the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So there's this scene where she gets kind of cornered by a predator. I won't talk about exactly what that scene is because I do not want to ruin it for you, and you should see this movie if you want to see it. without having any spoilers. Okay, so there's a scene where she is kind of cornered by a predator type person in an alley, and the way that she responds is just so epically over the top that it is a moment that will be burned into my mind, staying on my brain for the rest of forever in the best possible way, just because it is such an epic way for a character to respond to a predator. And I won't say any more than that because I don't want to ruin it, and I want you to see this movie, and I want you to see this scene in particular. But yeah, it's just, it's crazy. I can't put it into words, and I can't describe more of it without ruining it, but absolutely watch it. It's something else, but I appreciated that scene. And like I said, I think that anyone who's ever been, part of the Me Too movement, or who has dealt with a situation of being made to feel uncomfortable or being made to feel like you couldn't escape or being cornered or anything like that, this scene is just something that it was just nice to see. Let's just put it that way. And again, I won't say anything more because I don't want to ruin it, but yeah, definitely watch it because that was just nuts. But every kill in this movie is like that. It makes you go, whoa, and like I kind of had to look away a little bit on some of them because they're just so crazy graphic and just so good that it's shocking. It's shockingly good. There are some nice nods to Psycho in this movie. I love that they kind of brought that in. The ties also that they brought to the Night Stalker, that was interesting. I mean, it fed into the time period, so I kind of like that they, again, did all these little things to keep that aesthetic just very time period accurate for the whole thing. They show the Bates Motel and they show the old house behind it, and I thought that was pretty cool that kind of just played into it, and that there are mentions of Scream Queens and how Maxine's gonna be one of the next ultimate Scream Queens. And would I rewatch and would I buy this movie when it comes out on home release? So yeah, I think I would definitely buy this movie if it came out on home release, and definitely would rewatch it. I don't consider it really one of those that is a horror or scary like I mentioned. I think I would lump it in more with my thriller lineups. So there are certain like genres of movies that I'll get into watching. I know the other day I was actually looking for dark thrillers. So the ones that I ended up watching was Wrath of Becky, and the other one that I watched was Don't Breathe Part 2. Don't Breathe Part 2 definitely has more of a revenge plot to it, where you want the characters to kind of get back at who's come for them. So I get into a phase where I want to watch those type of movies, so I would put this one in line with those. So any kind of dark revenge, like I Spit on Your Grave would be another dark revenge plot movie that I would say is in that same category. So there are definitely some that I don't consider horror, but I do think are like a gruesome thriller, and this is one of them. So that is definitely the category that I would put it in, and I definitely would rewatch it with that in mind. So the ending, how did I feel about the ending? And would I change anything about the movie? So as far as the ending goes, I think it was a tiny bit anticlimactic in the sense that there's so much buildup going on throughout the movie about the main person coming after Maxine, and you don't know who it is, but you kind of have a little bit of foreshadowing in the beginning, so you kind of sort of know, but you kind of don't. And when you get the big reveal, although it is good, don't get me wrong, I don't know, it just felt a little imbalanced to me, like it should have been more epic than it was for it to have had such a build-up. But that's just kind of how I felt about it. However, I will say that there is a gruesome death scene toward the end that absolutely is one of those epic ones that, again, still is like, whoa, how did they do that? So for that reason, it is still a good ending, so I wouldn't knock it, but you'll see what I mean when you watch the movie. So also, in case you aren't familiar, this movie is one of three. So there's Pearl, and then there is movie X, and then there's Maxine. And so for me, I definitely think that this one was the best of the three. I know other people may feel differently. The other two, I don't know. I mean, I'm a horror fan and all, but sometimes when something creeps me out or disturbs me just a little too much, I find it hard to rewatch. So for me, Pearl was one of those. It was kind of a one and done. Like, I couldn't rewatch that one. Same with X. That was just a one and done. So next on my list I know is going to be the Twister movies that I'm going to end up seeing. I know that one's coming up. I know I mentioned in at least one of my other videos how the original Twister from back in the 90s is near and dear to my heart. So it's going to be really hard to watch a follow-up this much later in the game. But I am going to do a review for you guys on that one. But that's where I'm going to wrap the video up, guys. How do you feel about the series of movies? Have you watched this movie yet? How did you feel about it? What would you rate it? Let me know in the comments below. If you're not a subscriber yet, but you like watching this content, please hit that subscribe button to let me know that you want me to make more content or keep making content in the future. But thanks so much for watching this video, guys. See you in the next one.